The second killer mistake is selling features instead of outcomes. Clients don't buy workflows, integrations, or AI models. They buy save time, fewer mistakes, more revenue. When you describe what the system does instead of what their life looks like after, your offer feels technical, not valuable. Another deal killer, talking about tools instead of pain. OpenAI, Make, Airtable. None of these matter to the client. What matters is the headache they live with every day. When you lead with tools, you force the client to do mental translation. And when people work mentally, they stop buying emotionally. One of the most dangerous mistakes is letting the client design the solution. When you ask, what do you want the automation to do? You hand over authority. Now, you're a technician, not an expert. Experts diagnose problems. Order takers build features. Study and get price shopped. Another silent killer is positioning automation as custom work. Custom sounds flexible, but it also sounds risky. Clients hear delays, unknown costs, endless changes. When automation feels like a project, they hesitate. When it feels like a proven system with a clear outcome, they relax and say yes. Here's what all these mistakes have in common. They shift the focus away from certainty. Clients don't fear automation, they fear uncertainty. Unclear outcomes, unclear timelines, unclear responsibility. Every time you over-explain, over-customize, or over-promise, you increase uncertainty and kill trust. The sellers who win do the opposite. They simplify instead of impress. They control the frame instead of reacting. They talk less about how the automation works and more about why it exists. When you sell certainty, the automation becomes obvious and the decision feels safe. The sellers who win do the opposite. They simplify instead of impress. They control the frame instead of reacting. They talk less about how the automation works and more about why it exists. When you sell certainty, the automation becomes obvious and the decision feels safe. If clients keep saying, let me think about it, it's rarely about price. It's about doubt you accidentally created. Something felt unclear. Something felt risky. And the moment doubt appears, urgency disappears. Fix the selling mistakes, and objections start vanishing on their own. This is why great automation sellers don't chase clients. They lead them. They decide the problem first, the outcome second, and the solution last. By the time tools or workflows are mentioned, the client is already aligned. At that point, automation isn't a risk. It's the obvious next step. Here's a quick reality check. Even the most advanced AI workflows and integrations won't save a deal if the selling approach is wrong. Clients don't see technology. They see results, trust, and clarity. Your role isn't to wow with features. It's to guide the client safely from problem to solution. One trick top sellers use: frame the outcome before the tool. Instead of showing what the automation does, they show how life changes. Fewer errors, saved hours, predictable growth. Tools are invisible, outcomes are irresistible. When clients feel the result in their mind first, saying yes becomes automatic. Fear-based curiosity is powerful. You don't just highlight outcomes, you highlight what happens if they get it wrong. Confusion, wasted time, lost deals. Showing the consequences of bad selling creates urgency. Clients naturally want to avoid mistakes, and suddenly your automation isn't optional, it's necessary. Another secret: control the conversation, not the client. Ask guiding questions, but don't hand over the blueprint. Clients feel empowered when they talk, but they buy when you lead. Without guidance, they drift toward indecision. With subtle authority, they see the automation as the solution, not just another tool. Timing is everything. Top sellers pace information, revealing outcomes before mechanics. They avoid overload and confusion. Each explanation builds clarity and confidence. When you reveal too much too soon, you overwhelm. When you reveal strategically, the client feels guided, not sold to. The final piece: position automation as certainty, not possibility. Clients want confidence, not options. Show them a proven path from a problem to solution. Highlight predictable results, not hypothetical features. When the path is clear and the outcome tangible, resistance fades and the yes comes naturally. Remember, selling automation isn't about showing off tools. It's about avoiding the mistakes that make clients hesitate. Explain outcomes, frame the solution, control the conversation, and reveal just enough. Do this, and even complex systems feel simple. Even skeptical clients feel safe. Even the hardest objections disappear. In the end, automation sells itself when you sell it correctly. Focus on outcomes, guide the client, and eliminate doubt. Avoid over-explaining, over-customizing, or over-promising. Mistakes aren't in the system, they're in the selling. Master the approach, and every automation you offer becomes an obvious, trusted solution. Everyone thinks automation sales fail because the system isn't good enough. That's wrong. Most deals die after the automation is already built because of how it's sold. In this episode, I'll show you the silent mistakes that make clients hesitate, lose trust, and walk away, even when your automation is perfect. Most sellers make the first fatal mistake before the client even understands the problem. They explain the automation too early. Flows, dashboards, tools. The client nods, but emotionally disconnects. When you teach before you position, you confuse instead of convince, and confusion never closes deals.